In this video I will be baking sourdough with 4 different types of wheat. Because I'm trying to create the perfect sourdough, I must figure out what flour I should use for it. Flour is the most important ingredient for sourdough because it is necessary to build gluten. I will be using the same recipe for all 4, so the result will be as comparable as possible. Though, as you will see, each bread will be different because we are working with sourdough, which is a living organism, and there are many variables that will influence the results. Also, as you will see, I will of course make some mistakes. Otherwise, this will be a fun little experiment and I hope you will enjoy it as well. So the recipe will be the same as I had in my last video, which is the recipe I have been using for 6 years. The only difference is I am not gonna use any whole grain or any extra flours. The recipe contains 500 grams of flour, 350 milliliters of water, which is 70% hydration, 10 grams of salt, and about 80 to 90 grams of sourdough starter. I'm mixing all of the ingredients except the starter, which I will add after all of the other ingredients are mixed. Then I'm mixing in the starter with a flat hand. This way you're gonna minimize the amount of sticky dough on your fingers. I will do this until it seems like the starter has been incorporated. It is different how long it will take, but I usually do it in around 3 to 5 minutes. Don't worry too much about how long you're mixing and how well you're mixing, because in the end the dough will come together. By doing this, you're not only gonna mix all of the ingredients, you're also gonna start the gluten development. Gluten is created when water is absorbed by flour. Furthermore, it is strengthened when you are stretching and resting the dough. This is the reason why the next step is gonna be the technique of stretch and fold. After the mixing, I will let the dough rest at room temperature for around 45 minutes. Then I'm going to take the edges of the dough and I'm gonna stretch it and I'm gonna fold it over the dough. I will rotate it 90 degrees and I will repeat until I have done it with 4 sides of the dough. This whole process will be repeated 3 times with 45 minutes of rest between each. This way you can really feel the dough coming together, becoming more elastic and being more manageable. At the same time, the dough will begin its fermentation. I will then let the bulk fermentation happen in the fridge for around 14 hours, which usually, that's the next day. Then the next day it is time to form the bread. I place the dough on a dusted countertop and then I take the edges of the dough and I pull them across as you see here. After the bulk fermentation, the dough has lost a lot of its tightness and this will tighten the dough again. I'm doing this across the whole dough and then I am going to roll it together with a dough scraper. Sometimes I will choose to repeat so the dough will become even tighter. Other times I will roll the dough into a ball shape by pulling the dough under itself. This I'm doing to close the seam further. Then I will put the dough into a dusted bread basket with the seam side up. I will dust it again and I will put it under a damp towel. Optimally, I would let the dough rest in the fridge for 1 or maybe 2 days to let the taste of the sourdough develop further. But at the moment, I am not patient enough to wait. So I will instead let it proof on the countertop at room temperature for about 1.5 to 3 hours. This is depending on the temperature and also the dough and the starter. So if you're doing this, you should definitely keep an eye on the rice. The way you test if it's ready to bake is by doing the poke test. With a wet finger, I am going to poke into the dough, and if the dough is bouncing back slowly, then it is ready. I'm not totally confident in this method yet, because I've just recently started it, but I think I got a pretty good result with one of the loaves. I'm baking the bread in a Dutch oven that has been preheated at 250 degrees Celsius for around 45 minutes. I will place the dough and then I will score it. I will give it 25 minutes with the lid on. This will make sure that the bread is steaming itself, and it will also make sure that it has a good spring. Then I will take the lid off and I will turn heat down to 220 degrees, and then I will bake it for around 20 minutes. Here the crust is getting crisp and it's getting a nice color. When it's done, I'm gonna rest it for a rack for ideally an hour, though often I get impatient and I start cutting the bread around like 30 minutes and it's still gonna be moist inside. As for the results, I will now go through the 4 different types of wheat I'm going to use. For the first bread, I was using all-purpose flour. This is what I usually use because it's the cheapest option and I always have it around, so it's pretty convenient. It can form gluten pretty well, though it can take a little longer because the protein content isn't as high as the other flours are gonna be. The bread gets a nice texture and a nice crust, and I think it's delicious. The next bread is gonna be with Tipo00 Flour. This is wheat that has been milled very fine. The protein content is typically higher than all-purpose flour, but this isn't a guarantee because different types of wheat is gonna be used for Tipo00 flour. The finer milling makes sure that the water gets absorbed faster, and it also makes the dough more elastic. The elasticity is the reason why it is usually used for pizza making. The bread turned out to have a really good structure and a very crispy crust, though it had a tendency to be a little too chewy. The next loaf was with Manitoba wheat flour. This is a specific type of wheat grain that is originating from Manitoba in Canada. This has a very high protein content, which is great for sourdough, and it is known to be good for creating artisan bread. The dough almost felt like the one with Tipo00, but a little bit elastic. I overproofed the dough a bit, so I didn't get the oven spring that I was hoping for. But otherwise I would say that this was the one with the best taste, and it had the soft inside with the very crispy crust, kinda like the last one, but not as chewy. As for the last bread, I was using Durum wheat flour. This is also a specific type of wheat grain, which is categorized as a hard wheat. It has a high protein content just like Manitoba, but the gluten doesn't develop to be as elastic. Therefore, I also ended up giving it an extra stretch and fold because it felt like it needed it. Because of this, the bread turned out to be very different from the others. It was much more firm and it had less of the big air bubbles. The bread got a yellowish color, which looks very nice, and the taste is very different from the others. I actually really liked it, and the lack of air bubbles makes it great for toppings. I will definitely be baking with durum wheat again, but this isn't the kind of bread I'm looking for, so for the purpose of perfecting the sourdough, I will prefer to use Manitoba wheat flour. All-purpose flour would definitely be good enough if my goal was to make cheap bread. Tipo00 flour I will not be using for sourdough again, because of the chewiness only. You have to chew too much. I don't like that. Manitoba wheat flour will therefore be my choice for the perfect sourdough. Comment down below what type of flour you prefer to use for sourdough. And if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.